final session out of the road. First of all, can I thank you all, not just for being here, but for the opportunity for myself to chair this session. It's a very important conference that you're having here today, and it's been talked a lot about in the corridors of power around this building. The Basque Friendship Group, without doubt, understands the importance of international support for a peace process. And without doubt, international support has played a very important role in other peace processes that you have looked at, and having someone like Brian here with his font of knowledge, particularly in relation to South Africa and in Ireland. And 5 years ago, as you have said, you had a situation where the Brussels Declaration was made, and yet we are still really no further forward when it comes to the issue of prisoners. And I listened to the MEP who made her comment, and obviously still in a lot of pain, because as we know, war is a terrible thing. And it's how you get out of conflict and how you build conflict resolution, which is extremely important. And for many of you here that are concerned, and rightly so, about the treatment of prisoners and the fact that prisoners and the issue of prisoners has not been dealt with, I want to just take this opportunity to share with you some of my own personal experiences, because as someone who has served 13.5 years in prison and who understands what it is like to be in a system that has dispersal, and I particularly understand that more in relation to my husband, who had served almost 16 years in prison, and most of that was done and spent in English jails. And England is almost reminiscent to yourself insofar as the prisoners are dispersed a lot from one jail to another. And we prisoners, we have always said that jail was jail to me no matter where I was. And I'm sure for many of your prisoners, they probably would concur with that. But it is our families and our relatives did not decide on where we were located. And they are the people that should not be punished. So on humanitarian grounds, there are issues that should be separated in relation to prisoners and the choices we make when we are involved in struggle, and then that of our families. And I think that's what's crucially important here, because it's patently obvious that the families of prisoners of the Basque struggle is really what's reminiscent in Palestine, because that's where you're seeing the collective punishment taking place. That as families are being punished. And they're being punished because prisoners aren't being held in jails near to their home. And they're also being punished because the peace process is not being embraced. And the role the prisoners have to play in peace process, one only has to examine what happened in South Africa, what happened in Ireland, to know that if you are serious about a peace process, that the consolidation of that peace will not happen unless the issue of prisoners is addressed. As a prisoner, when we were asked about the Good Friday Agreement, we made sure that there was engagements and negotiations with us before there was any agreement made on prisoners, because we did not just go to jail for our leadership to get us out to the same conditions that we fought for that took us to jail in the first place. So obviously the conditions that led to the causes of the conflict in the Basque country is also important and ties in with any serious, meaningful engagement about building and consolidating peace. In Ireland, I sit here now before you along with 3 other Sinn Féin colleagues. I was here first on my own. I was junior minister, and Lynn and Leah is here with me as 2 of the 3 that came along with me. when we came back in May of this year. And had anyone told us that, in the first instance, that former prisoners would be here, along with, and Lynn was the same in Dublin, having topped the poll in our constituency. Lynn topped it in Dublin, I topped it in the north. Had anyone had told us that Sinn Féin would top the poll in constituencies, Leah came in, she almost topped the poll, and Matt was the same. And we represent, as Irish MEPs, the largest delegation here in Ireland, from a party that is made up of former prisoners who are ministers, who are MPs, who are people who are working in the voluntary community sector, and people who are driving the political process to ensure, in the words of Brian Kern, what happened in our past must never happen again. And that's what prisoners will ensure and bring to the table in any peace process. So without doubt, I'm going to give the floor to Brian. Brian has already spoke. He has been instrumental, and I want to take this opportunity that I haven't really done before to thank you for the role that you played in our peace process. And I was in Armagh Jail, and one of the prisoners, all of us, women prisoners, were brought to Longcash for that very historic meeting where you had the IRA prisoners meeting with the South African administration and those who had been involved in the ANC to explain to us the importance of the South African peace process and to make sure that we as prisoners understood the role that we had to play, not just as prisoners, but when we got out of jail. And that is what has driven me almost every day of my life since I've been released. So you don't need any further introduction from me. I will hand you over to Brian.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to speak for a very short while because this is not my session, but I've just been asked to say a few words about my engagement with Arnaldo Otegi. I met him for the first time in 2005 when I first started engaging on the peace process in the Basque country. I've been going there now for 10 years. These processes go on forever, don't they? And right from the beginning, I could see that, that he is an exceptional person. He has a charisma, he's got courage, and he's got commitment. I must say to you that when I first began to engage with him, I never envisaged that within 3 years, 8, 5, 6, 7, within 3 years, I would be engaging with him privately and constructively, and he in particular making very, very constructive statements about a commitment from Batasuna, as it then was, from the Batasuna leadership, to move into a situation where they would, under particular circumstances, be prepared to condemn violence and to condemn future ETA violence. But we had those conversations. And what I always, to this day, cannot believe, and I must say to you that in the course of those conversations, he obviously needed to engage with people that would put his own situation at risk, and I'm talking about the leadership of ETA, I'm not sitting here as a witness saying that that is what he did, because I never saw it. But he obviously needed mandates. He obviously needed to engage, to get views and opinions, and to look at relationships in terms of where the political center was. And it was as a direct consequence of the work that he was doing to achieve, as a major player, the statement that ETA made at the beginning of 2011 to declare a permanent, internationally verified ceasefire, that he went to jail. You can read the record. There was absolutely, he was not accused and has not been found guilty in that context of any crime of violence. And that's why he is in jail. I've got a prison sentence of, I think it was 6 years, for participating, not with me, but with those with whom he needed to engage in order to get the mandate to do what was necessary within the political sector of the Abetsala left, to make the statements that would be necessary for a new political structure, Sortu, Bildu, but Sortu, to be registered as a political party and participate in democratic politics. And he's in jail for that. Thank you.
Okay, at this junction, I'm going to ask for your attention. There's going to be a 4-minute video of Arnaldo Otegi.
Arnaldo Otegi, born on July 6, 1958 in El Goibar, a small town in the Basque province of Gipuzkoa, is the Secretary General of the pro-independence party Sortu. He is currently held in the prison of Logroño under prisoner number 871900510.
From 1998 onwards, Otegi took part in all the negotiation attempts to resolve the conflict. He took part in the 1998 Lizara Gorazi process, was tasked by Batasuna to present its new peace proposal, Orain Huria Orain Bakia, in 2004, and was part of the party negotiation team in the subsequent talks amongst Basque parties, both in Loyola and Geneva, during the 2005 to 2007 peace process. Just 3 days after the collapse of the peace process in June 2007, Arnaldo Otegi was arrested and sent to jail.
When he was released from jail in August 2008, Otegi worked tirelessly with a small group of people to get the pro-independence movement and keep people within Basque society behind a renewed peace strategy.
In October 2009, he was arrested again while preparing this new peace initiative. Spanish military police stormed the headquarters of the Basque trade union LAB in Donostia, where Otegi and several members of the party leadership were preparing the debate process for their new peace proposal. More than 50,000 people took to the streets of Donostia to demand their release.
The core of this strategy is the unilateral commitment to exclusively peaceful and democratic means, to peacefully build popular support among Basque society and internationally, and to insist that all sides of the conflict accept the democratic will of the Basque people and put an end to violence.
One of the main milestones for the current process was the International Conference to promote the resolution of the conflict in the Basque Country, also called the Conference of Ayete. The conference took place in the Palace of Ayete on the 17th of October 2011. After the conference, Kofi Annan, Gro Harlem Brundtland, Bertie Ahern, Jerry Adams, Pierre Jox, and Jonathan Powell presented the Ayete Declaration that was subsequently endorsed by Tony Blair, Jimmy Carter, and George Mitchell. The declaration made 4 recommendations for the resolution of the conflict.
But as a consequence of the long conflict, some 500 Basque citizens are still held in Spanish and French prisons. During the confrontation period, this collective suffered a number of exceptional measures, including automatic rejections of parole, dispersal, keeping prisoners dispersed and as far as possible from their places of origin, and obstacles to getting medical treatment and legal assistance. They were also subjected to communication limitations and have been isolated in solitary confinement.
In September 2011, while the peace strategy unfolded, the Spanish Special Court Audiencia Nacional sentenced Arnaldo Otegi to 10 years imprisonment. The Supreme Court reduced his sentence to 6.5 years.
The Constitutional Court ratified this decision in July 2014 in a much disputed decision in which 5 out of 12 court judges dissented, asking for his release. His legal counsel announced an appeal to the European Court of Human Rights.
During Sortu's founding Congress early in 2013, Arnaldo Otegi was elected as Sortu's Secretary General, and the position left vacant while he is in prison.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I personally would appreciate being able to get a link to that. I think that all of us that are here, particularly I know for a fact from Team Sinn Féin, that we would like to put that out in social media and in all of the networks that we can. So an appreciation of that in terms of getting a link would, I think it should be seen far and wide. And if there was ever a demonstration to show people power, the hundreds of thousands of people on the streets there, I don't think I've ever seen so many people on the streets anywhere out in protest against what was happening to prisoners. So at this junction, I'm going to hand over to Fermin, which he doesn't need much introduction, particularly among yourselves. He was born in 1963. I don't know whether I should say that, but it's down here, so I'm just repeating it. And he's a Basque musician, he's a singer, he's a songwriter, he's a producer, he's a documentary filmmaker, a record label manager. I don't know what you do in your spare time, but Fermin has been involved in different cultural and musical projects. So over to you.
Buenas tardes a todos. Me gustaría empezar esta intervención con un saludo en nuestro idioma, en euskera, para proseguir después en castellano. Lehenengo eta behin, eskerrak eman nahi dizkiot Basque Friendship Groupari eta Martina Andersoni aukera hau emategatik. Euskal Herritik interes handiz jarraitzen ditugu Friendshipak egindako lanak eta bihotzetik eskertzen dizuegu gure herrian konponbidea eta bakea lortzeko bidean egin duzuen ekarpena. Decía que quiero agradecer a Martina y al Friendship la oportunidad de presentar esta campaña en Bruselas. Libertad para Arnaldo Otegi, presos vascos, a casa. Hace ya 5 años, el movimiento independentista vasco abrió un profundo debate sin precedentes que concluyó con una apuesta inequívoca por vías exclusivamente pacíficas y democráticas, renunciando a la violencia en su reclamación del respeto a la autodeterminación del País Vasco y con una disposición nítida a cerrar totalmente, por medio de la palabra y el diálogo, el largo conflicto violento que ha asolado la región desde hace décadas. En octubre de 2011, ETA respondía positivamente al llamamiento realizado desde la Conferencia Internacional de Aiete, en Donostia, San Sebastián, que le demandaba el cese definitivo de su actividad armada de más de 50 años y la apertura de un proceso de diálogo. El Premio Nobel de la Paz, Desmond Tutu, señaló a Arnaldo Otegi en su día portavoz de Batasuna y hoy secretario general de Sortu como el líder de este proceso de paz. Efectivamente, Otegi fue el dirigente más destacado entre aquellos que propiciaron en las fuerzas independentistas el debate sobre la necesidad de apostar por la palabra para solucionar todo conflicto. Su apuesta por vías exclusivamente pacíficas y democráticas fue respondida con su arresto en octubre de 2009 y con su posterior condena a más de 6 años y medio de prisión por pertenecer a la organización política Batasuna y legalizada previamente por el gobierno español. Desgraciadamente, el fin de la actividad armada de ETA que ha mostrado su disposición a un proceso de desarme, de diálogo y reconciliación que tenga en cuenta el dolor de todas las víctimas, no ha traído consigo todavía respuesta positiva alguna por parte del Estado español. Arnaldo Otegi, cuyo caso ha sido recurrido ante el Tribunal Europeo de Derechos Humanos, se encuentra en una prisión española alejado de sus familiares y amigos. Así están también cerca de 500 presos vascos relacionados con este conflicto. Dispersados en prisiones lejanas al País Vasco, frecuentemente incomunicados, esta realidad provoca, además, un castigo añadido a sus familiares, abocados a recorrer largas distancias para poder visitarlos. Ante esto, pedimos la libertad inmediata del hombre que supo arriesgar por la paz y la democracia, de quien apostó por la palabra cuando parecía que nadie lo haría. Su liberación y el final de la política de alejamiento como paso previo a la excarcelación temprana de los presos vascos son pasos necesarios para poder alcanzar una paz justa y duradera en la región. Por humanidad, por justicia, porque creemos en una solución sin vencedores ni vencidos, porque apostamos por la paz. Por eso pedimos libertad para Arnaldo Otegi y el traslado de los presos al País Vasco. Estos son los primeros firmantes de esta declaración. Pepe Mújica, Fernando Lugo, José Manuel Zelaya, Lucía Topolansky, Desmond Tutu, Mairead Matgaya, Adolfo Pérez Esquivel, Ahmed Kathrada, Angela Davis, Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas, Jerry Adams, Leila Sana, Leila Khaled, Ken Livingstone, Nora Morales de Cortiñas, Reverend Harold Good, Helmut Markov, Slavoj Zizek, Tariq Ali, Pierre Galland, Gerson Baskin, Joao Pedro Estedil, Carmen Lira y yo mismo, Fermín Muguruza. Estos son los primeros firmantes, pero esta iniciativa no acaba aquí. Entendemos que por humanidad, por justicia, porque creemos en una solución sin vencedores ni vencidos, porque apostamos por la paz, este camino empieza aquí y va a continuar. Por todas estas razones, por todas las personas presas. Muchos de los firmantes de esta lista han conocido la cárcel. Algunas de esas personas después han tenido grandes responsabilidades institucionales. Nelson Mandela decía: "In my country, we go to prison first and then become president." En mi país, primero vas a la cárcel y después te conviertes en presidente. Puede que Arnaldo Otegi algún día recupere esta cita. Eskerrik asko, gracias a todos.
And I know that you had a very important conference all day. I think I was given the honour of, if you don't mind me saying, Mark and to Brian and the rest of you, of chairing them, what I regard as the most important part of it. I know that you have been here engaging with each other for most of this session. So at this stage, I'm just going to thank each and every one of you for your attendance, thanking all of the speakers and the contributions and the chairs who took part in the session to make this happen. I think I want to also thank the interpreters. Thank you for the work that you have done throughout the session. I want to remind the press that there will be a press point outside, and ask everyone when we leave here if we can get a chance to mingle just outside the door, and if there's any other follow-up that people want by way of comments or engagements, we should do so. So stick around, go outside, and thank you all, and particularly I want to thank Yasu and his team for organising this event today, because it has been absolutely powerful and you've left a lasting impression on us, and I know that for the MEPs that are here, that we will do whatever we can in the future to advance the cause. Go míle maith agah. Thank you.